I'm Joseph Dougherty. I'm an IT junior. I'm working on the fire department management system. For those of you who may have missed my earlier presentations, the problem I'm addressing is that many fire departments, both volunteer and career, have a lot of paperwork to do, and that's pretty understandable, right? They're fighting fires, there's a lot of information for personnel, for real emergencies, for training, for all the inventory they have in their firehouse. So there's a huge amount of paperwork, they waste a whole lot of time on it. It's stressful, it wastes time, it's just not good, right? So my goal was to create this electronic record-keeping system. Take their paper system, make it electronic. Pretty straightforward, right? Things that are electronic can be easily maintained, updated, created, deleted, right? You can generate printed reports if you need them to submit to the state for whatever compliance regulations you may have to deal with, but you can keep everything in this database and easily update it, see it anytime, manipulate it as necessary. You don't have to keep printing all forms every time you change something on a firefighter. If they move, if they get a new piece of equipment, you can easily, as I said, maintain the database. So this I'm going to try and keep pretty quick. There's a lot of people still have to present. I'm going to go over what I've done, what I've learned, show you a quick demo, and then take any questions. What I did was, I'm using Qt C++, which has great support for SQL databases. I wrote my own little layer of abstraction. I made a database manager. I saw an example of this in a tutorial, and I liked how they did things. So I went about that myself. For more information, you can check out the repo. What I do is, I design my schema. The database manager creates that schema if the database does not exist. If the database does exist, it verifies the schema, just to make sure that we're not trying to use an old version of the database and things are going to break down the road when they're trying to do things in the program. Let's catch it right at startup so we don't have bugs later on. Here's a brief overview of my schema. This will be posted on the blog later if anyone really cares. For personnel information, I have a GUI to both create and edit firefighters. They're very similar, but slightly different. Both interfaces were designed directly from the paper they currently use, so it's a really great, I should have mentioned, I'm working particularly for one fire department right now, someone I know from back home. This can be applied to other fire departments, but my goals for this semester was to make it work for them. So they currently have a specific form for firefighters, and I translated that directly to an interface. I created the functionality in code for this interface. You can successfully create firefighters, edit their personal information, their equipment. I also created an actual firefighter class, which was separate from the interfaces and from the database. It's kind of a middle class to integrate those. I wanted to do this for inventory drills and calls. I was also doing this program for another project this semester, and time kind of ran out. This is a great article, and I couldn't find it. I wanted to bring it up here. It says something like, you know, you can be a really great programmer until that deadline starts approaching, and then you just got to kind of cut corners, which really sucks. But I am going to keep working on this project. For inventory, very similar things. You can enter items into inventory. You can give them attributes. You can then do an inventory audit, where you would scan in every piece of inventory you have and generate a report of what's missing. For fire drills, we have the GUI to create a new drill, to scan firefighters into that for the timesheet, and to view an existing drill to, if you need to update information, to print a report. Most of that functionality is done. I do not have the report printing yet. For calls, I'm not as far as I would like to be. Have the GUI down, not really in functionality yet. The good news is that calls are very similar to drills, because a drill is a training exercise for a fire call. So there's a lot of the same information, but calls have like an extra 100 fields that must be submitted to the state. So I haven't done all that SQL yet. I also have a search for pulling up existing records so you can look at them. Let's go to a demo real quick. Should have had this up, my apologies. Alright, so what I used was the MDI paradigm, multiple document interface, so that whoever's using this program can really do as much or as little at a time as they want. These buttons will be a little more descriptive. I'm waiting on a currently unnamed RCOS member to give me some help. But so here's an example. Here's what the add firefighter form looks like. Again, directly based off the paper. They can enter the information, add the firefighter. They get a nice little pop-up if it was successful, a little error if it wasn't, telling them what went wrong. They can search for firefighters that already exist. So I only have one guy in here right now, John Doe, of course. You double click on him to bring up the edit firefighter window, which again looks very similar, but there's also these tabs at the top because there's additional information for existing firefighters. These are all the training exams these firefighters have to go through with their electronic signature, their supervisor's signature, and the date completed. Very similar for equipment. Check what they have. If they don't have it, you can't enter anything. If they do have it, you can update it. And then reports aren't finalized for firefighters either because they're based off calls. I also have the inventory This is the inventory control where you can add new items, see what items are already there. You can filter by category. I only have one right now. And then there's also inventory check or audit. And as you can see, this is what I meant by the multiple document interface before. You can have as many windows as you want. Sometimes it might get a little confusing. You just close all that garbage out. So here's an inventory check that I started running yesterday. I scanned in 2 of my items. I'm missing one. I can generate a report for what's in there, both of them, or just what's missing. This is the interface for a new drill. All they have to do, if they're on a drill or a call, is hit one button before they can start scanning firefighters in. This field right here that's highlighted, they use a barcode scanner, scan the barcode on the firefighter's ID. I'm going to mimic a barcode scanner right there, and the person's scanned in with the current time. Again, you can save this. I think I have one in here already, so we can do the search and pull it up. So here's some information from what I did just the other day. With that, I'll get back to the presentation. Some things I learned, I've said this before, I just want to say it again for anyone who missed it. Qt is really, really cool. Some people have some pretty reservations about C++, I'll say. But it's really not that bad, and once you get into it, it's actually really fun, it's cool. Qt makes C++ great. I'll just say it as that. I'm using SQLite as a database because I don't want these firefighters running like a MySQL or Postgres or whatever server. That's just stupid. It's a single file, loads it up, it's there, they can back it up to a thumb drive, to a disk, whatever they want. I just wanted to briefly talk about SQL parameterization. I'm not going to go in depth. If you want to know more, talk to me afterwards. But if you're using SQL, please parameterize. Do not just escape strings. They are not the same thing. Parameterization is great. With that said, special thanks to Morley, Shauna Zolvan, Peter Hages, and Nate. And if anybody has any questions. Yes?
How's the barcode scanner interfaced?
It's just a USB barcode scanner. So what it actually does is it basically emulates a keyboard. So as soon as they scan, it just very quickly types what the barcode says and automatically hits enter.
So, or you can use an Android.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet. I don't have a smartphone.
Android
So.
barcodes. And, one question I have is about the security. Is can anybody change these entries, and so if so, what happens to the integrity?
Right now, the answer to that is yes. And then the particular fire department I spoke to, the chief told me, I trust these guys with my life.
Okay.
I really am not concerned with them going in and editing records. But I don't know if every fire department feel that way. I'm definitely planning to have different roles to do different actions.
So this is like really exciting. It's made a lot of progress over the semester.
Yeah, definitely.
What are your plans for deployment? You mentioned you were working with a particular fire department, and I think you've talked with a few others also.
Yes.
What are your plans for deployment?
What I would like to do is finish up over the next 2 weeks, because I only have one final, which is awesome. Finish up what I don't have and deploy for this fire department by the end of the year. So that when we switch over to the new year, they can just straight into this program and start using it full time. Like I said, I worked on this project for another class. Wrote like a great 40-page report on it, which is great, yeah. But this is really tailored to exactly what they want. I've met with this client a few times with our interfaces, with how it works, and it meets their needs pretty much perfectly. So I think it'll be ready for a deployment by the end of the year. Yeah.
Sort of along with what Morthy said, is there any plan to encrypt the data or something if there's personal data in there?
Right now, again, no, and that's what I was looking into. I think one of the downsides with SQLite is there's no user access built into it. Whereas with MySQL or Postgres, you give it credentials. SQLite doesn't work that way. So that was something I started looking into, I was thinking about, because this is just a file on the hard drive using some kind of AES encryption on it. But then, you know, what happens when you load it up? Now it is readable again. So I'm not sure exactly how to go about that.
Okay. And also, I saw you had an interface for like training items. Is there some way, like some of them said like annual training or something, is there some way to tell the user, oh, these people haven't got their annual training and expired 366 days ago?
Right now, no. It would show up on their PDF report, but it wouldn't like automatically alert.
Yeah. All right. Just curious.
Mike is a EMT, so he has a vested interest in asking these questions. Okay. So we continue with the awesome tradition. The next talk is awesome wave.